Hopefully, fingers crossed from the Suffolk FA. Thank you, Ellen, though, for letting us know. And if they're not able to tell us, we will reveal what's been in your text, courtesy of an email from the FA. About a week ago, we spoke about your weight, whether during the last 6 months, 7 months or so. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? It was about a 50-50 split. Some had put some weight on, some had lost some, and about 20% were pretty much the same. Well, of course, there's another one on the way, so how do we best accommodate that from a dietary standpoint? Natasha Hodge joins us on the programme from Natasha is Wide-Eyed. She's a nutritional behaviourist and advisor. Natasha, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Well, good, I think. It's all a bit of a haze at the moment, isn't it? It's all a bit surreal.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, it is, yeah. Here we go again.
Here we go again, yeah. Well, as I say, we did this little question about a week ago. About 40% had put weight on, 40% had lost weight, and the other remaining 20 had sort of stayed the same. So it does strike me as an opportunity for fluctuating weight, this pandemic.
Absolutely. Yes, it's obviously lots of people have comfort eating, and also they've maybe taken a look at their health, and so the people that have lost weight maybe implemented more exercise, better food. From my standpoint, of course, it is all about boosting immunity. We've got this virus that we're facing, and so the ideal is to focus on your best health. And if you're doing that and you're implementing certain ways of being, then the side effect is weight loss.
Yeah.
But,
well, I guess there'd also be folk who are in an active jobs. I mean, some of those do still exist, I'm sure. There will be people that aren't able to do those active jobs, and that's going to have an impact, isn't it?
It is. I mean, where we are right now and where I would like most people to be focusing on is that even if you can't exercise and you focus on how you eat and when you eat, you can still find the benefits. So the main thing I would say people should be doing is trying to implement a fasting regime, which sounds really daunting, but is very, very simple. And it doesn't matter what type of food you eat. Obviously, I advocate certain types of food for the best health. But whatever you eat, if you're doing it in a smaller time frame, in a smaller eating window, then you will benefit. And that's really where everybody needs to be focusing, especially going into the second lockdown.
Okay, so it's, as you say, fasting does sound like deprivation, essentially.
Yeah, it certainly does. And the weird thing is, if you start to implement it, and what I'm really talking about is an 8-hour eating window. So say you eat your first meal of the day at 11 a.m. and you finish eating at 7 p.m. You've got that 8-hour window to eat what you like. You can eat, hopefully, home-cooked meals are going to be better. But it sounds, again, like, yes, deprivation. But actually, when you're in that 8-hour eating window, you actually find you eat less, you're not hungry before it, so that first morning part of it, you know, everybody says breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Yeah. Breakfast is literally just break fast. That's when you're first eating. And if you push it back a bit each day, you'll soon be at 11 a.m. having your first meal, and you won't be hungry. It takes only 2 or 3 days to get into that pattern.
There was a time, and still is to this day, where I'll only have one meal a day, and everybody says to me that's bad. And what happens there is that your body wonders whether it's going to be next fed, and it will store that as fat. People tell me that's a way to put weight on. So how does it work?
I would say that, again, is another fallacy. We're designed to go long periods without food. So 1 meal a day, if you're not hungry in that time, then that suits you. You're fat burning in that time. So 1 meal a day, you've got maybe a 22-hour fasting period. Yeah. And that's a brilliant time for your body to be repairing. It's using an energy source called ketones instead of glucose, and it's really good for us, in fact. Now that's probably extreme for quite a few people. But as I say, if you're eating any type of food, but you restrict the time frame, then you are going to benefit. And it's that repair and enhancing period that we all need to be aiming for. And it definitely boosts your immunity.
So we are looking at whittling our eating habits down to what, 1 or 2 meals a day as opposed to...
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
I
So
see.
that 8-hour window, you'd probably eat lunch and an evening meal, and it would still fit in with the family. And to be honest, everybody can do it. It doesn't need to be any age group can do this particular way of eating. And obviously at the moment we are finding that people might be struggling food-wise, money-wise, financially. And so you've got those fantastic sort of charities like, have you heard of the Teapot Project?
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah. Amazing people. That's a great organisation where people can have unsold surplus fresh food deliveries. And the great thing is, obviously, if you can afford it, it offsets it to people that can't afford it. And what they obviously focus on fresh fruit and veg and all sorts of cupboard staples. It's a brilliant thing to support and pay forward so that you can support other people that might be struggling at the moment. But even with that type of food, any type of food, if you restrict your eating window to 8 hours, it's really easy, it's on a daily basis, and you get into the habit really quickly, and everybody will benefit.
I know people often mock so-called comfort eating, but we are in a pandemic. We're about to enter a second lockdown. Mental well-being is frankly at a premium for most at the moment.
Absolutely.
And is this additional, shall we say, lack of comfort, more than some can frankly put up with?
Well, if you're comfort eating, you can still comfort eat in that 8-hour period. But also I would say, for supporting your stress hormones and to increase your mental clarity and actually to support your mental health, eating really well then becomes even more important. So in that fasting period, your brain becomes sharper, clearer, you have more energy, you are able to deal with stress better. But you can still comfort eat. I advocate eating full fat food. So that's a comfort food in itself. Yeah. Okay, so saturated fat, I advocate eating cheese and dairy and everything natural, but everything that comes packaged within meat and fish and, certain vegetables like avocados or olives. These are good, nourishing, brain-supporting, immunity-boosting foods, and that then also comforts you as well.
Let's look at the reverse of that, though, because I think many understand and have heard of the phrase of comfort eating. I would turn that on its head, though, because I've always been someone who is not appreciative of the so-called breakfast guilters. Those that say, oh, well, unless you have breakfast, you're going to live another 2 years, if that. Do you know what I mean by that? There's always these people, loads of people talk about breakfast, and we, even with our children, instill this routine of the first thing you do virtually when you get up is eat. Now, having had children and now grandchildren, the vast majority of which really don't want breakfast. And I just think that surely the body knows what and when it wants food.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And when you think about it, if you think about our bodies like plugging in a mobile phone, for example, when you plug a mobile phone in, it charges to the point of being full of battery life, and you take the charger away. Well, when we go to sleep, we are basically recharging. All that energy is getting stored. It triggers us to wake up, and at that point, we are full of energy. And the last thing we need is to eat. Right. So actually, eating at that point is self-defeating. You are going to use your energy to the point where then you'll feel hungry much later in the day. Some people don't eat till, as you said, once a day. So they might not eat till the evening. Yeah. Others will break their fast at lunchtime.
So you would do away with breakfast?
I would 100% do away with breakfast. Breaking fast is what we really focus on, and it's when you are hungry.
Yeah.
And you will not be hungry when you first wake up. It's only because we've got this habit, and we've also been taught by the breakfast cereal companies that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
So with me thinking that there's something wrong with me, because if I do ever have breakfast, I feel rough. I don't feel right for a while, you know?
Well, your body is telling you exactly what it needs to do.
We didn't need this, thank you very much, Well, that is intriguing, and it's quite rare to hear that. So where do you think all this insistence on 3 meals a day, little and often and all of that, well, where might that have come from then, if you say
the food company? That's it. The advertisers.
Right.
They want to sell more food. They want to sell us snacks. They want to sell us, breakfast cereals. It's simple as that. It's not how our bodies are.
But what do you say to we hear teachers often raising the issue of children turning up to school, they say, tired and hungry.
Well, it might well be that they're not being fed the right types of food. So if you are living on, pasta and all those sorts of things, then you feel more hungry very quickly. So you're maybe relying on sugar a lot of the time. But if you actually got children into a pattern of fasting, their brains would be much, much clearer. So when you wake up in the morning, you would be absolutely ready for action. Usually energy, if you're in that sort of cycle, dips at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you'd be able to eat at lunchtime and then basically go home. So, kids, maybe in the future we will get to a stage where they will, make it to lunchtime.
There you
have
go.
a really good home cooked, or school prepared meal, and then have their evening meal, and we'd have a much healthier society.
That is intriguing, Natasha. Thank you so much for that. So it's the condensing of the eating day, if you like, and every day you just condense it more and more until you get down to 1 or 2 meals a day, essentially, and not a fan of breakfast. And I thought I was alone in that notion. Natasha Hodge from Natasha is Wide-Eyed, the nutritional advisor. It's something we might do a little mini survey on, I think. So, Natasha, we'll see what people are doing for breakfast. And I imagine there'll be quite a lot who say, do you know what, I just don't bother with it.
Yeah.
Makes me feel stodgy.
Sure.
Right. Natasha, keep well. Great talking to you.
And you. Thank you, James.
The sound of Suffolk. And